Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about this year's John Wick spin-off offering, Ballerina. After assassin Javier is killed protecting his daughter Eve from a strange cult, New York Continental manager Winston Scott brings the orphaned girl to the Roscaroma, an assassin society operating under the cover of ballet dancers. There, Eve meets the Roscaroma director and, driven by the desire to avenge her father, agrees to enlist. Over the next 12 years, Eve trains as a ballerina, assassin, and bodyguard, seemingly with much more effectiveness in the last two careers than the first. She briefly meets John Wick during his visit with the director of the organization, and Wick implores Eve to abandon her violent path. But she's determined to wreak vengeance on the cult who killed her father and continues with her training, ultimately progressing to the rank of full agent or Kikimora. Over time, however, Eve realizes that while the Roscaroma have given her the skills she needs to fight the cult, they have no intention of actually letting her use those skills for that purpose. The Roscaroma have a détente with the cult, and they've no intention of jeopardizing this long-standing peace treaty just to satisfy Eve's personal vendetta. So, she takes matters into her own hands. Eve seeks out Winston Scott once more, and he tells her that one cultist, Daniel Pine, is staying at the Prague Continental with a large bounty on his life. Eve travels there and infiltrates Daniel's room, where she discovers that he's hiding his daughter Ella from the cult. Now, of course, cults are generally very reluctant to let members leave, and this one is no exception. Armed agents kidnap Ella and gun down Daniel Pine, while leaving an unconscious Eve to the rarely tender mercies of the Continental security team. Given the Continental's generally zero tolerance response to violence on their premises, the cult expect that to be the end of her. But Eve's quest, now reinforced by her desire to rescue Ella, is only just beginning. So when Shay Hatton saw the trailer to John Wick Chapter 2, he was inspired to write a spec script about a ballerina assassin. Although he conceived the script as a standalone film, when Lionsgate purchased the rights, they asked him to revise it to become part of the John Wick universe, the universe that inspired it. And then the script languished unproduced for several years. Director Len Wiseman was hired in 2019, but the film did not actually get its lead actor, Ana de Armas, until early 2022, and filming commenced late that same year, nominally finishing in February 2023. But the film's production travails were not yet over. Additional action scenes were shot a year later. Some reports claim that these went on for as long as 3 months, though the senior production team on the film deny this, saying it was only 2 weeks. The film would only finally make it to cinemas in June this year, 2025, 8 years after Hatton penned his original script and 2 years after the main John Wick series had reached its conclusion with John Wick 4, a movie I've never seen because of how little I liked John Wick 3. So, was Ballerina worth the wait? Let's start with the good news. The fight scenes are great, varied and dynamic, with lots of integration of the sets and props into the action. The fight in the Nordic cafe is a particular highlight to my mind. And this is notable because, although the John Wick series, particularly the first film, was highly regarded for its action choreography, I actually found the fight scenes in the second and the third movies to be quite dull. With the second movie, I saw John Wick do the same basic take a guy down and then shoot them in the head so many times that I was heartily bored of it well before the film ended. That movie's introduction of bulletproof suit jackets also sucked a lot of fun out of the fight scenes for me. I understand that the jackets made it a lot easier to justify Wick emerging unscathed from a storm of bullets, but they also seemed to be something the fight choreographers struggled to use in any interesting way. Oh, look, Wick just grabbed his lapel and pulled it in front of his face again. Ho-hum. Eve gets granted no such medical clothing, which forces much more creativity to justify her survival. This was the first time since the original movies that I have found the John Wick franchise's fight scenes to be more than elaborately staged tedium. The fights in this movie, though, are, as I said, great fun. Often not even remotely plausible or realistic, of course, but I don't come to a, you know, big budget over the top action movie looking for plausible realistic fight scenes. I look to be entertained, and I got that here in terms of the fight choreography. Unfortunately, the excellence of that fight choreography can't entirely make up for the film's main shortcomings. Now, Ana de Armas is a very good actor. She did a lot with a little in Blade Runner 2049 and was excellent in Knives Out. I'm not convinced she's an action star, though, or at least not the right action star for this script. In the other films I've seen her in, de Armas's singular quality has been her ability to make you like and empathise with her character. In Blade Runner 2049, playing a character who is literally just a holographic projection, she conveys much more nuance and dimension than the humans with whom her characters interact. In Knives Out, she's got just the right mix of vulnerability and chutzpah. Apparently, she also made a good showing as a CIA agent in the James Bond film No Time to Die, which, given the timing, well have been what led her to being tapped for this role. I haven't actually seen No Time to Die, though, or indeed any Bond film since 2006's Casino Royale, so I'm relying on hearsay and a few minutes of YouTube footage for that. But what has stood out about de Armas in the roles I have seen, though, is her ability to convey multiple layers of emotion and feeling, which is a great strength to have, but one that the film has no interest in exploiting, actively eschewing any emotional depth or complexity in favour of a very simple Eve hates the cult and wants revenge on them through line. And look, I hate somebody and I want revenge on them is plentiful motivation for many an action film, but it's one that rather ignores the singular talents of the actor cast to be the lead. De Armas, to my mind, never commands the screen here the way that I know she can. Mind you, she might have had more chance to do that if the film's script had any confidence in Eve as a compelling or convincing protagonist. Unfortunately, it does not seem to do so. Instead, it seems determined to keep reminding us that John Wick is the single most talented, amazing, and important person in this cinematic universe, and that Eve is no John Wick. I won't go into the details because, spoilers, but I'm struggling to remember another action film that so comprehensively and repeatedly undercuts its protagonist in order to remind us that some other supporting character is actually far more skilled and cool. Anything Eve can do, John Wick can, will, and does do in this movie far more skillfully and effectively. It's like someone at Lionsgate wanted everybody watching this movie to know that Eve, and indeed the whole production, are just riding on John Wick's bulletproof coattails. And that's a bafflingly short sighted and counterproductive decision, made especially frustrating by the fact that there is a brief moment where it seems like the film is going to go in another, much more thematic and interesting direction. But less than 30 seconds later, the script pulls the rug out from under its own feet and sabotages its protagonist and itself in the process. Basically, much like Eve in her many unsuccessful ballet lessons earlier in the movie, this movie takes a bad tumble at the end. Next time, up from the depths, 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky, Godzilla. But not the one that had that impossibly earwormy theme song. Seriously, don't look it up, it'll be in your head all day. Instead, it's the 1998 animated classic version of Big G, a spin-off of the awful American Godzilla film of the same year. But that is next time. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you've seen Ballerina, let me know what you thought of it.